What is up, YouTube? Welcome to PanFro Games. In today's video, we have something very interesting happening in the world of Pokemon, that we actually have a brand new Pokemon developer coming around, which is pretty interesting for the future of the franchise, or games, and maybe even better Pokemon games. And of course, guys, if you like this type of content, enjoy these videos, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it. Consider supporting the channel by joining the PanFam and a join channel member button below. Supported by Video Game Chronicle, the Pokemon Company establishes a new Pokemon Works subsidiary. It will operate from the same building as Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl Studio, ILCA. So a new subsidiary here is going to be like a little new company underneath the Pokemon Company that supposedly, from the name, is going to be working on new Pokemon titles, or as at the very least a support studio. The interesting part of this is the fact that it's going to be within the same building, ILCA, and as you know, ILCA did make Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which is a very controversial game. But this is actually probably going to be more of a positive thing. So reading the article here, the new company, which was discovered by Series B webmaster Joe Merrick, will operate out of the same building as ILCA, the company behind Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, Shining Pearl, and Brilliant Diamond. The purpose of the company is unknown. Although the company will share a building with ILCA, it should be noted that ILCA is not owned or operated by the Pokemon Company, though it does have a closer relationship given its work on Pokemon Home and the Diamond and Pearl remakes. ILCA is currently considered more closely aligned with Bandai Namco, having established a new studio partnership with Bandai Namco in 2022. Currently, the Pokemon franchise is handled by 7 different entities. The franchise is owned by 3 main companies: Nintendo, Creatures, and Game Freak. And so that's pretty much all the information we have. Joe Merrick's tweet on this is, the Pokemon Company in Japan has set up a new subsidiary, Pokemon Works. The trademark just got pushed and the company was registered a week ago. No idea what the company is at the time. We'll let you all know soon. And going to Joe Merrick's actual tweet on it, he does follow up and say, the company is set up in Tokyo in the same building as ILCA. It's probably going to be more of a support dev. But, you know, that's all conjecture. We don't know for sure. But this is rather interesting because the big issue of BDSP was that BDSP was an unfinished game. There was cut content. I mean, we just found some brand new cut content by Lutu here, that there was unused environments and backgrounds in the game that were only in Platinum. So it seems like BDSP was supposed to actually have more Platinum elements to it, but they just ran out of time. And we know that Game Freak and, you know, ILCA were having a lot of issues just working on Pokemon games recently. Just a lot of unfinished games coming out, or games that weren't at the right graphical or performance level, or just straight up cut content like BDSP suffered from. And I do personally think that ILCA is not actually to blame for this. I do think it's Game Freak, you know, saying, hey, you are a third-party studio. We don't have any ownership over you. You got to follow the exact things we're going to tell you with the exact deadline and everything like that. And they couldn't reach the deadlines and they had to cut corners, and that's why we got BDSP in the state that it came out in. Now, overall, I do think this is going to be a very positive thing, because Pokemon Works being its own company within the ILCA building, to me, says that we're going to be getting some ILCA staff who are also going to be working under the Pokemon Company within Pokemon Works, which means it's going to be more of like a support studio that can actually assist with the games, but not just spin-off games and making remakes. Like, there's a lot of thought that they'll be making a Gen 5 remake, which I think they will, but I also think this will allow them to have another support studio to work on mainline Pokemon games, like Pokemon ZA would be a big one, or something like Gen 10. I do think Pokemon Works is going to really lighten up the load for Game Freak, so they can probably make some better games in general. And, you know, Central Leaks had some speculation. Let's read it. If our speculation is accurate, then that means you get more staff for the mainline series games. It also means a tighter control by TBC over the borrowed staff from ILCA. Then future smaller games can be developed entirely by Pokemon Works, leaving Game Freak with more time for bigger games. And I do hope this actually comes true, and I do think this is like a correct way to actually think about how this new studio is going to work. I'm sure they're going to be mostly a support studio, because ILCA is normally just a support studio. They've done a lot of support work for previous games like Yakuza 0, Dragon Quest 11, Nier Automata, and Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Form, and Ace Combat 7. So they've done a lot of support stuff. And I think they're going to go full support with this little division within ILCA just to work on Pokemon games. But I think once they get more experience, they'll be going back and making their own Pokemon games. And they are a fairly new studio if you look at the wiki page here, right? Pokemon Home was like their first game. And it's not a game. It's like a menu, you know? So their first game they made was like this Idolmaster game. And then they released BDSP. So in 2021, they had their first releases. And I got to say, for a studio's very first game that was working under crunch, I actually think BDSP is not that bad, given the circumstances that we know. And then in 2022, they released the One Piece Odyssey game, which honestly, pretty decent overall. Got a 74 on Metacritic. Comparison to BDSP, honestly, 74 from reviewers, but critics recommend 51% and then 60% on Odyssey. These aren't stellar scores when you look at gaming in general, but, you know, it is an improvement if you're going to look at it. They got the same critic score, but the recommended is higher on One Piece Odyssey. And we do have the new Sandland game coming out, which is actually going to be made by them as well, which I think this game's actually going to be pretty cool in general, which is going to be out on pretty much everything. So overall, I think we should give them a little bit of a chance, ILCA and Pokemon Works. I do think, you know, they might have been probably rushed in some way, shape, or form. As you can see, if you go into the files of BDSP, you can find a lot of the cut content. It was super easy to exploit and glitch and clone a lot of things. And that game was a complete mess. And honestly, like, yeah, I can't recommend those games. I'm not a big fan of them. But, you know, hey, that was their first attempt. I look forward to their second attempt. And hopefully we will see maybe a Generation 5 remake by them. Or maybe, you know, we'll see a new Pokemon game from them. Hopefully, like some sort of new spin-off game, maybe similar to like a Legend style game or something like that. Some sort of new Pokemon game coming from another sort of like second party studio of the Pokemon company would be really sweet. And I just want to get more Pokemon games every year, but I don't want Game Freak to be exhausted and tired releasing a Pokemon game like every year, because reality is that's just not sustainable. And that's why we're not getting a Pokemon game in 2024. And of course, though, I am looking forward to Pokemon Legends ZA. That's gonna be very exciting for me as well. But there we have it, guys. That's a quick little Pokemon update. And of course, guys, keep it here for all your Pokemon news, guides, and content and other video game action, like my live streams. And of course, guys, if you like this type of content, enjoy these videos, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it. Catch you guys next time. Peace out and have a good one.